The only possible cause of an ice particle up here accelerating up and around like this.
Vernier rockets are small rocket engines originally used on these missions to help keep the shuttle on its correct trajectory. There were 4 Vernier rocket thrusters on the Space Shuttle Discovery during STS-48, 2 that point outwards and 2 that point down. When these were fired to help keep the shuttle on its path, they would often cause ice particles to break off from the shuttle into space.
There are a couple of the objects that you can track. If they are being accelerated by a rocket away, where those trajectories meet, that has to be the location of the rocket. And the trajectories actually diverge when they come back, so they couldn't possibly be accelerated by a Vernier rocket.
If a Vernier rocket caused ice particles to accelerate, then these objects' paths could be traced back to the rocket. But in the footage, the objects' paths go in opposite directions. Making it nearly impossible for the Vernier rocket to be responsible.
Then you'll see there's a half-second pause. An ice particle can't pause when it's being pushed. We have some Vernier rockets that actually did fire about that time, but there is a 1.2-second delay between when the rocket fired and when the main object started to accelerate.
In your history of doing projects like this, have you ever been wrong?
From what I can tell from this data that I got, it stopped for half a second.
Since these objects' paths do not coincide with the origin point of the Vernier rockets, and they also appear to stop in mid-flight, the team believes that it is very unlikely these are ice particles from the shuttle.
It stops. That means there's some intelligent control going on.
But some UFO researchers theorize there is a darker story behind the flash at the top of the screen and the sudden movements of the objects.
One of the theories about what the objects are that seem to come from Earth in the NASA STS-48 video is that it's some kind of a missile or a projectile.
Something comes up from the lower left of the screen towards the object that just moved out of its way.
The people who know the weapon systems that were around when STS took place say we didn't have any of those weapons. If there were weapons aimed in space, if those weapons existed, those would be the very weapons aimed at a UFO coming to Earth from outer space.
NASA would help a lot of us to understand this better and maybe eliminate a lot of this UFO speculation if they had some people that would come out and offer us their explanations for some of these things.
But is there an explanation for what the team believes is the most compelling NASA video yet? February 25th, 1996. A 12-mile-long tether accidentally breaks and floats away from the shuttle Columbia. When the tether is between 75 and 100 miles away, the shuttle camera records dozens of small orbs suddenly surrounding it. The standard explanation is space debris. But why would debris cluster around an object? And why does it seem to keep circling the tether?
See those little snowflake or those disc shapes going right behind the tether?
This UFO must have been at least 100 miles across, flying behind this tether.
NASA maintains its only mission is to explore outer space. But some claim NASA is suppressing evidence of UFOs. The team has been analyzing official NASA video taken during space shuttle missions to investigate these stories. STS-48 captures an object that changes direction in an instant. And STS-114 films an object traveling a very unusual path. But in the case of STS-75, the team finds the footage so compelling that they seek insight from Experiment's producer, John Tyndall.
Today we're going to demonstrate a difficulty that three dimensions being captured by two-dimensional cameras.
John believes this experiment will shed light on the images captured by STS-75. A tether broke off from the space shuttle and was seemingly surrounded by small orbs. He has set up a spatial representation of the tether and the windows of the shuttle.
All right, now you can see that's the tether. It's broken loose. See those little snowflake or those disc shapes going right behind the tether.
Right.
Now, other ones are appearing to be in the foreground, which leads a lot of folks to believe that they were real and they were out there.
These particles may be nothing more than ice and debris from around the ship that are out of focus because a telephoto lens was used.
NASA maintains that this is nothing more than ice and debris that's around the ship that's out of focus because this is a telephoto lens. Now, the camera was using a lens, a telephoto lens, which incorporated a mirror. This hole that's in the center of this mirror also leaves an artifact, the same artifact that you see in the discs.
Light illuminates these objects from behind, and then this light bounces off the mirrored lens. The objects will now appear to have the form of the lens, even though this is not their actual shape. This can be seen by Tyndall's example. He has prepared a small piece of fishing line that is backlit by a green light. However, when the line is passed in front of the camera, it doesn't look like fishing line. It takes the form of a circle with a hole in the center.
Sunlight was coming across and hitting ice crystals and backlighting them and causing them to illuminate. Any shape that's around the lens of a camera or around the optical path will impinge on those circles of confusion.
But even if the object's shape can be explained, why do they appear to pass behind the tether and circle it? John has set up a mock tether inside a three-dimensional environment and will show how this optical illusion occurs.
You see how overexposed the tether is at this point? Mm-hmm. Even though this is in the foreground, it gives the illusion that it's passing behind.
The image on STS-75's camera is overexposed, meaning that objects appear brighter than they actually are. This gives the